Welcome to this episode of the Brush and Soap and Blade Podcast, where we look forward to shaving every day. Welcome to episode 102 of the podcast. My name is Rick DeWeese. I'll be your host this week. We're going to start off with a phone call. Haven't had one of those in a while, so good stuff there. Then we got a letter. I'm convinced, I'm absolutely convinced that this podcast and the wet shaving community is, well, a rather magical combination. I'll tell you why. Sometimes things happen and you just kind of stand back and go, wow. Got a shave of the day to throw out at you. Talk about growing up. May not be what you expect, but sometimes things happen and you just kind of, well, I don't know, you just kind of think about it, mull it over, and come up with some thoughts. Another shave of the day. I've had some problems with my neck and had to go to the chiropractor a couple of times, get kind of straightened out there, and, well, sometimes I'm cracked and ready to go, and, well, there you go. Another shave of the day after that. Give you a quick heater and gas can update on what I did with those two this weekend. Today's shave of the day, and an intriguing conversation, and in fact, intriguing conversations in general, especially around this political season, and why they're kind of fun, and not necessarily from a political standpoint, but just in trying to understand why people do what they do and think the way they think. Yeah, it is kind of intriguing. Anyhow, that's the show this week. Let's get on with this thing.
Hey, good afternoon, Rick. My name is Jeff, and I'm an assistant scoutmaster for Troop 424 in Palestine, Texas. I just wanted to compliment you on your podcast. I found you on Showtime, and I've been listening to them and really enjoyed it. Been licensed since the late 70s as a high school student. Been using a wet shaving as long. I still have the same brush that I started with. I actually had a shave this morning with a Gillette double-weighted safety razor and my Old Spice shaving mug. So, man, I think we've got a lot in common. I teach my kids how to start fires with fire pistons and char cloth and all that good sort of thing. So, anyway, just really enjoying it, and hope you keep it up, and maybe we'll get to chat on the air someday. And thank you for giving me the link to the RSS feed, because I get your great information every week. So also had a question on what your thoughts on synthetic brushes were. I'm looking for an update. So 7-3 again, Jeff, Palestine, Texas, and have a great day. Bye-bye.
Well, Jeff, thank you very much for the call. Great to hear from you out there in Texas. Good stuff. So let's see. Scoutmaster, thank you very much for doing that. I know that the youth that you work with appreciate it greatly, as do their parents. So good job teaching them how to light fires. Good stuff, and using some classic methods. So I like that. That's great. Let's see. Synthetic brushes. I have two, and one is a Plisson, which I bought back when Plissons a little bit after they came onto the market and everybody was kind of raving about them. I finally broke down and bought one. And the only problem that I have had with the brush has absolutely nothing to do with the knot. It has everything to do with the handle and the finish on the handle, which on the bottom of it has come off, much to my annoyance. And now the knot has been fabulous. The only thing, the only caution that you need to be aware of with synthetic knots is that they do not retain moisture at all. So you end up having to put more moisture in your lather bowl or with your soap or whatever in order to get a good lather. Now, once you do that, you can get very good flow of lather through the brush. And it holds, depending on the size of the knot, it'll hold a good bit, and it seems to do very well. They're very soft. One thing that you don't need to worry about them, especially for traveling, is that if you happen to put a bore brush away, a little bit damp, and it's in a suitcase for a day or two, it can get a bit iffy. The same with a badger brush. On a synthetic, however, you don't need to worry about that. You just kind of throw it in there and pull it back out, and it's no big deal. No muss, no fuss. It won't hurt it. It's pretty much no harm, no foul, and in smell anyhow. And so that's a good thing. Now, I've talked about my Plisson brush. The other brush that I have, believe it or not, is an inexpensive kabuki brush. And it is also synthetic, and I bought it just, well, because, I mean, it was like, I don't know, $6 or $4 or something like that, but it had a long handle on it. And so what I did is I cut down that handle, and I use that from time to time camping. Now, the only problem that I have with it is that it is a much shorter loft. It's about the same diameter, but it's much shorter loft, and it just doesn't hold enough soap. I mean, you can get by with it, and it works in a pinch just great, but it just it doesn't hold enough soap for my liking. And so, you know, as far as the performance of it, I've never had it fall apart. It's not a big deal. It's, you know, cheap. Now, on the other hand, there are people out there that have gotten to the point where they swear by their synthetic brushes. And that's okay. That's great, you know. What I find, and this is just me, I constantly, just because I like the handle more than anything else, well, I like the feel of it too, it just seems to work well for me, is my Samog 1305 bore brush. However, there are people that have even gone to the point of selling off their Samog bore brushes. Oh gosh, the horror. Because they are strictly synthetic guys at this point. And the one that I would that comes to mind when I speak of this is none other than, well, Chris Bailey. He has, I missed the sale of his stuff by just a little bit. There was one brush that I really wanted. Anyhow, so he really likes the synthetic brushes. Like I said, to the point where he's gotten rid of a lot of his other brushes just so he can, you know, just have synthetic. That's what he reaches for most of the time. So they are out there. The quality of them has really gone up. You know, it's almost like once the Plisson came out and people realized that, you know, that level of softness and performance is what was desirable. Everybody kind of jumped on the bandwagon, and next thing you know, there's synthetic knots all over the place that are, you know, doing a really good job. So, you know, the mule blacks and things like that, very highly spoken of. Now, I don't have any experience with them, so I don't know. The only thing I can do is, you know, go with the thoughts of people on the forums and people that I trust and, you know, YouTubers and things like that. So that's kind of the update. Like I said, I only have two, and one is really not a shaving brush. I mean, it's a kabuki makeup brush, but it still does a good job. Now, if you don't have a synthetic brush and you want to just feel what one would be like, yeah, go buy a kabuki brush. I got mine at Target. And there were two kinds. There was one that didn't have a handle at all, and one with a long wooden handle, probably about 3 or 4 inches long. And so I bought that one, and then I cut it down so it would fit a travel tube. And it's really done a good job. It's worked for me very nicely when I've used it, and so I really enjoy it. Anyhow, Jeff, thank you very much for the call. Great hearing from you. Keep up the good work. And if you'd like to leave me a phone call, drop me a line at 864-372-6234. 864-372-6234. The Wet Shaving Hotline. Well, sort of kind of hotline. I get the messages that people have left me messages there. It's just a message box. And, but you can, leave calls for me, ask me questions, and, I'll do my best to answer you. So anyhow, 864-372-6234. Look forward to hearing from you. So I got an email from Mark. A1 sauce syndrome. My father could always cook a great steak on a grill. When we invited guests over, my father would have to put out A1 sauce because, well, someone is going to ask for it. Whenever I would go into a restaurant that served steak, there was sure to be a bottle of the stuff at every table. So one day I was with my father for the men's steak roast at church. There on the table was a bottle of the stuff. So I decided it was time I give it a try. Yuck! It tasted to me like a chemical cleaning solution. Years went by, I was out of college. I was with my wife at a fancy restaurant. There was A1 sauce on the table again. Maybe that stuff I tried decades ago was from a bad batch. Maybe my tastes had matured. So I tried it. Yuck! It still tasted like cleaning fluid. Last year, I bought a Mercure 1904 open comb razor. YouTube and several shaving sites are loaded with tremendous reviews for this razor. Now, I like open comb razors. I also like heavier, short-handled razors. I also have a fondness for vintage razors, so I bought this and couldn't wait to try it. I was disappointed. It didn't seem to shave well. It was mild and left stubble. I tried several blades, shaving creams, and techniques, but couldn't seem to get a good shave out of the thing. I didn't want to give it a bad review. I really wanted to like this thing. Everybody says it's good, just like the A1 sauce. Maybe there's something wrong with me. Last weekend, I gave it another try. I had to break out my $8 Lord Tech to clean up the rough spots. Finally, I went on YouTube and reviewed it like I felt about it. I guess this hobby is a matter of taste, but this razor won't be in my rotation, and A1 sauce won't be on my steak. Cheap salsa bowl regards, Mark. Well, Mark, first off, great story. And yeah, I have suffered from that syndrome as well. There was a razor that was absolutely gorgeous. I'm not going to name it because I don't want to make anybody mad, but I have talked about it in the past, and if somebody wants to go search for it, they probably can. I couldn't get a good shave out of it. I really couldn't. And the only way, it also was mild and didn't work well, and just, beautiful, beautiful razor. Just absolutely gorgeous to look at. Intriguing even. But the only way I could get a good shave with it is to take an old blade, cut the edges off of it, and shim the blade up in the razor so that I would have more exposure and get a decent shave with it. And when I did that, well, it worked. And it worked okay. It still wasn't perfect. It still wasn't great, but it worked okay. Now, meanwhile, rave reviews all over the place. I still have the razor. I haven't given it away. I haven't, donated it or thrown it in the trash or sold it or anything. I still have it, but it definitely is not in my rotation. And no, I don't have a bottle of A1 sauce either. Now, a good Worcestershire sauce. See, I can't even say it. Gee whiz. Anyhow, thanks for the email, Mark. Okay, I've got to admit, this show, this podcast that I do, this wet shaving hobby, it really is rather mysterious and magical. So I'm sitting here preparing the podcast for this week and thinking, what do I have and do I have enough? And next thing I know, I get this letter from Mark. And it's a great letter. And so I read it and I respond to it. And meanwhile, just before that, when I had responded to the call from Jeff and talking about, bore brushes being kind of my go-to and not having a lot of experience with synthetics and missing out on one of the bore brushes that I had kind of always wanted, because somebody, Chris Bailey, sold it and I didn't get into it fast enough to throw a response out. Lo and behold, I'm just checking into Facebook to see if there's anything there that, would spark a thought or something to talk about on this week's podcast. And one of the members, Mark, is selling a Samog SOC, which is the one that I have been, kind of coveting, an Italian Barber LE, which has the same handle type as my 1305, which I absolutely love, and a Fine Angel Hair brush, which is a synthetic made by Fine, which I've also wanted just pretty much since they came out, but just never got around to ordering it, and he's got great prices on them. And so I said, yeah, I'll take it. So here I am, responding to things for the podcast, trying to put together some thoughts and put together a show, and things are happening out of the blue. And here I am, it's almost like things are coming together the way that they're supposed to go. And wow, it's like using a straight razor for the first time and not getting any nicks. You just kind of stand there in absolute amazement going, okay, that was cool. What just happened? So, yeah. So Mark and Mark, thank you. Thank you for being out there and, making this moment in time for me, well, just like a perfect BBS straight razor shave. Appreciate it, guys. All right, so we have a beautiful Friday morning here in the upstate of South Carolina. Everything is good this morning, including the shave of the day. The shave, now, it's, I have been kind of, centering, if you will, around some of my creams that I have, and used some Tojo the other day, and then used some Spike the other day. Well, today I reached back in the box there and pulled out my metallic tube of L'Occitane Cat A, and great lavender scent, from France, and put a dollop of that in the old salsa bowl and whipped it up with a boar brush, and it was, well, fantastic. I mean, the lather, it was just absolutely creamy, beautiful. If you like lavender, okay, you should have at some point a tube of Cat A from L'Occitane in your stash. I mean, it's one of those that, you really need to experience it, and you will be glad you did. Again, if you like lavender. And it's not a heavy lavender scent, so don't misunderstand that. It is a lavender scent, but it is such a wonderful, creamy, beautiful lather. It's really top notch, and I truly do enjoy it. And the other nice thing about L'Occitane is that, you can go there with your wife. Now, granted, you may walk out of there after spending, $100 or so, but at least you'll have a tube of shaving cream for the effort. So, that's my views on that. Now, I have lathered that stuff with the synthetic brushes, with badger brushes, with boar brushes. It works fabulously with everything. I've never had an issue with any of it. It's just kind of the way it is. Anyhow, so the back to the shave of the day. The shave of the day, I used my Star single edged, and again, when I say single edge, it's not like some of the newer ones where you have the ejector blade or the feather. The newest one that's on the Kickstarter campaign, or maybe it's not a Kickstarter campaign. No, I think it's just a company that's making them, but they use the feather single edged, which also is usable in the auto strop, and that's the closest thing so far that I've seen to the classic single edged razor blade and a razor that uses it. So that's good. Now, I use that same feather blade in my Valet auto strop, and it is a fabulous, absolutely fabulous shaver in that combination. So all good stuff. So if you were to tell me that there's a razor out there that uses these blades and it's pretty good, it's a miserable design, because it's got to be fabulous with those blades. It's just, for me, it's the blades that make that one. Anyhow, back to the shave. So the Star single-edged razor, the old classic styling, kind of a 1912, 1914 patent styling of the old gems and stars and those guys. And so used that and did 3 passes with that, and then a little touch up under the under the jawline, neck area and stuff, and then proceeded to finish up the cheeks with, whoops, I have forgotten to turn. This is what happens when I get to talking and I'm driving at the same time. Sometimes I forget things. Anyhow, then after the 3-pass shave with a little bit of touch-up, then just did a cleaning pass, if you will, with a straight razor on my cheeks. And I'm walking out of the house with an absolutely fabulous BBS shave. It's just wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Best of all worlds. Don't, at least for me, for a midweek shave or a weekday shave, if you will. For me, I think that's the epitome. I can go relatively fast and not take a whole lot of time and care and worry and everything, with the, safety razors to do a quick couple of passes. And then kind of a cleanup pass in the area which is very easy for me to do, which is my cheeks and things. And then under the nose and chin area, for me that is probably some of the easiest areas to get with a straight. And so just kind of clean up with the straight and then walk away with an absolutely fabulous shave on a daily basis, without a whole lot of extra effort, and that is exceedingly appealing to me, and that's what I've been doing for about a week or two, and walk out of there just about every day, walk out of the house about every day, just feeling absolutely great, and yeah, it's good stuff. Now, it has taken me a while to get to the point where I am comfortable using the straight razor that way. So, if you are new to straight razors, don't be intimidated. Take your time. Realize you're probably going to nick yourself from time to time. Well, like I still do. So again, if somebody tells you that they never cut themselves, well, okay, maybe. I haven't gotten there yet. So, yeah, it's one of those things. So, anyhow, don't be intimidated by it. Give it a shot and see what you can do. And remember that, when you mix it up into new and different things, that's part of the fun. First off, being able to, and secondly, actually doing it. So keep in mind that those alternatives and ideas are out there, and you play around with them and do what you want. That's the fun of shaving. It's a hobby that we can enjoy multiple aspects of, multiple different ways, and just about every day. So all good stuff. Now so shave with the star, with the L'Occitane, cleaned up with a straight, all is good, and then proceeded to slap on a little bit of Cold River Soap Works Formula number 1, and some balm there, and walk out just feeling, well, fabulous. Good stuff. So, it's interesting. What I find, quite honestly, is I have a plethora of soaps, because I don't tend to, I'll give stuff away, but I don't tend to, dispense with stuff, sell it or anything, So if I find somebody that has an interest, I'll here, try this, and, if you don't like it, bring it back. If you do, keep it. And, so I'll donate, if you will, a lot of stuff like that, But even with that, I have a bunch of soaps. And what I found is that I really, really enjoy the scents and the smells of these soaps. I truly, truly do. And my biggest issue right now, quite honestly, is I enjoy the scents of the soaps, but I don't have aftershaves that kind of go with them. And not that that's a bad thing, because sometimes I use aftershaves, sometimes I don't. But there's a certain part of me that would enjoy just having a complete stock, if you will, of various aftershaves, so that you can mix and match and have combinations, and, ooh, yeah, that one's good. And, so anybody that makes soaps, quite honestly, if and there are some that do, but if you happen to make aftershaves and aftershave splashes and things like that, that would be a a great benefit, I think, to the shaving community. It truly would. And, some people concentrate on balms. Okay, I understand that. Sometimes a balm just doesn't fit. And sometimes I really enjoy, an alcohol-based aftershave splash or, something like that. So keep that in mind. There's many ways to skin that cat, and I don't know if there's a market for it or not, but it may be something worth investigating. Sometimes if you can branch out, it's a good thing. So anyhow, that's the shave of the day. Plus, of course, some extra thoughts involved, and there you go. And hopefully, you'll have just as good a Friday as I'm having. Life. Okay, so life. Things grow. Life is about growth. Life is about, there's a beginning, there's growth, and, we won't talk about the rest. So this, a couple of weeks ago, I did something that, on one hand, I was looking forward to, and on another hand, I don't know. So, a couple of weeks ago, I moved my college-age son over to the college campus where he is now living in a dorm. So he has moved out of the house. And I must admit, it has brought, at certain times, a bit of, melancholy. And it's a curious phenomenon because, in a lot of cases, the young man at that age is, raging hormones and everything else going on, and just about, to the point of being intolerable. And so when they finally leave, you take a breath of fresh air and go, okay, that's finally over. Good. That wasn't the case for me. Now, don't get me wrong. There were times in the past where those kind of situations arose, but it had gotten to the point between me and my son where we were having, from time to time, fairly in-depth conversations, and in general, I enjoyed his company. I enjoyed having him around. I enjoyed listening to his observations and his thoughts, and I was rather proud of him because his thoughts were his, and he didn't really have any bones about it. It's just, this is what he thought, and more importantly, this is why he thought them. And so I enjoyed those conversations. I enjoyed that those in-depth talks we had from time to time. And the other thing that looking back, he's been around for 19 years. That's a long time in anybody's book. Don't care who you are. And to have that just not there anymore, it's a melancholy type of feeling from time to time. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand. He needs to go. He needs to get out. He needs to grow. I have said for the longest time that is probably the most important thing for him to do at this point, is to actually go out and face that. However, it doesn't stop the fact that, he's not there anymore at night to have those conversations with. And to a certain extent, that is, I'm not going to say disturbing, but it is, there's a hole there. There's something missing, and I recognize that. So it's good, but it's sad at the same time from time to time. So if you have kids, do yourself a favor, okay? And whether they're male, whether they're female, doesn't matter. Do yourself a favor. Make sure that you live every day with them. You enjoy them as human beings. You lead them. You help them grow. You learn who they are as people, and you encourage and enrich their lives with your wisdom, and they will turn around and enrich your life with theirs when they acquire some. And it will be in tidbits. and it will be fun, and it will be an adventure. Live with them, do things with them, spend time with them. Because quite honestly, I would hope that every one of my listeners that has kids feels the same hole, if you will, the same longing, the same melancholy feeling that I have, because they have spent time and they know what they're missing. Now, the other thing that's interesting is it is interesting as to what he took with him. He took with him a couple pairs of clothes, and, his mother was freaking out. She wanted to buy him pots and pans and dishes and, set them up and do all this. And when she asked me, I looked at her and I said, well, the boy has a mess kit. Let him take his backpack. He'll be good. Because that's part of the journey, is figuring out what it is that you need and what it is that you want. And, it's like, yeah. Sometimes survival is, kind of a fun thing to do. It's all right. It'll be okay. The other thing that he took with him is he took the double-edged razor that I gave him, the salsa bowl, and the brush, along with the soap. I was kind of proud of that. He didn't take a cartridge razor. He left all those in his bathroom. He took the double-edged. Made me proud. Getting a little bit of a late start today, but that's okay. Had to go to the chiropractor, get my neck adjusted again. Don't know what I did to it, but at some point I have pretty much jammed up my neck, and he's been working on it now for, 4 days, and still having issues every now and then. It lasts a little bit longer between adjustments, which is good. It's going in the right direction. It's just, golly, I'll tell you what, having a stiff neck, now I have been accused of that in the past, but this is something completely different. It is interesting. It is amazing what the body can do to itself. It's one of those things where, it's important to take care of yourself and everything, but it's also important to be able to stretch and move and twist and turn and do things the way your body's actually meant to go. And so anyhow, I got a bit of a late start, and kind of looking forward to today, just because I know I'll feel better. And we'll probably go again this afternoon just for a bit of a tune-up. Doesn't cost me any more, so whether I go once a day or twice a day, it costs the same. So that's always a good thing. And we'll continue on, and hopefully it won't put me down for the count or anything like that. But it was getting rough. It was when you're feeling just bad and not good, and I'm not going to say nauseous, but kind of losing your appetite and everything else. And, you can't twist your head but so far in any one direction, and it just hurts. And it's not a good thing. So we decided to take care of it. Anyhow, let's talk about something a little bit more, fun, which is the shave of the day. Now, the shave of the day today, it's, I leave stuff out on the sink, and, I have left my creams out. Over the weekend, yesterday, it was a beautiful, beautiful day, and had a lovely shave with Old Spice. Went the Old Spice route, and, that was really good. It is absolutely amazing to me that a company like Procter & Gamble, that has an absolutely wonderful product like Old Spice, and specifically Old Spice shaving cream, takes it off of the market now, at least in the United States. Now, it's still available in India, and you can buy it through West Coast Shaving. That's where I got mine. And this stuff is, I thoroughly enjoy it. The smell is classic Old Spice scent, and I mean, it's just great. And lathers up beautifully, does a really nice job. Although I must admit, compared to some of the other creams that I have, it did have a tendency to, well, dry out just a little bit sooner, a little bit faster than some of the others typically do. But that's okay, because there's so much lather you can reapply, and you know, it's not a big deal at all. So anyhow, we did that, and then used my straight razor, used one of my straight razors. I can't remember which one, but it was one of them. And you know, getting ready for the day, and go out and just, in fact, it was such an Old Spice day. I have a bottle of you know, the real Old Spice that is, oh God, 25 years old now. I have had that bottle forever. You know, it's the old gray top bottle, and I mean, it's about, I don't know, it's got probably about a quarter left, maybe half to a quarter left of the original good smelling Schulten formula Old Spice, you know, that was made back in the day when, you know, Procter & Gamble had some sense. But anyhow, I digress. I also have a small bottle of the Indian Schulten formula, just kind of compare, and they are very comparable. So that's really nice. But every now and then, when it's a beautiful day, I'll whip out the Old Spice shaving cream and actually whip out my my classic Old Spice and throw that on and just, well, enjoy life. So that's what I did yesterday. And of course, you know, shaving with a straight razor, you know, it's just relaxing, especially when you're not in a hurry. Okay, so that was Sunday. So what about today? So today, you know, I've got Tojo sitting there. I've got the Old Spice sitting there. So I've got these creams and soaps sitting there on the sink, and I just happened to look down and well, I just wanted to try my spike. And so I went ahead and used the spike. Now, I used it with my Nathan Clark Badger brush, the BrushnSoapnBlade 2015 commemorative edition podcast brush, that is a beautiful brush and a rare thing. And but used that and got a absolutely lovely lather. And one of the things that I've noticed about Spike is that it has a cooling effect. It doesn't have menthol in it that I'm aware of, but it does have a bit of a cooling effect, which is just, well, kind of nice. And so went ahead and shaved with that. Now, when I was, you know, again, since it's there at the sink, I'm looking around and I'm kind of wanting to use, you know, one of my single-edged razors, and so I've got an injector there, and I've got an Ever-Ready, and, you know, a gem, and you know, a star that I've used a couple of times this week so far, and yeah, I've got the blade there, because I always take my blades out. It's just a habit that I'm into, since I typically use carbon steel blades, so I have the blade out of it, and so it's kind of like, okay, let's look at the selection and pick your poison. Well, I went ahead and used the Damascene, picked up the gem Damascene and threw the blade in it, and had an absolutely wonderful, luxurious shave. It was really, really nice. Smooth, close, you know, it was great. And, you know, again, it makes you kind of wonder, okay, so when they had the Damascene, why did they make anything else? You know, did they really think that these other things were better? Why didn't they stop there? I mean, I think everybody agrees, or at least, you know, on the places that I go and look, everybody seems to agree that the gem Damascene was like the pinnacle of single-edged razors back in the day. Why did they make different ones? It's kind of like some of the, you know, Gillettes. And, you know, you've got a Gillette Aristocrat, or maybe a Fat Boy, but I prefer, you know, just from a shaving standpoint, I think the Aristocrat gives just a little bit better shave. So here you have an aristocrat, and why make anything else? You know, at least keep the head design and leave that alone. But I don't know. It's maybe it's a personality thing, and the Jim, you know, Damascene or the Gillette Aristocrat just work fabulously well for me. I'm not sure. And maybe that's why they make others. But I don't know. Quite honestly, you shave with one of those, and it's like, man, why'd they stop making them? You know, if you make them for 10 years and you're doing the apps, you know, then you can say it's the best a man can get, you know, because, yeah, you're probably right. But, anyhow, so, the shave was absolutely wonderful and, really good shave, and, walked out of the house and, looking forward to the day, and, you know, stop by at the chiropractor and, get adjusted before I head off to work, try to get that sorted out, and, yeah, all in all, good stuff. Alrighty, so just got back out of the my chiropractor's office, and feel a whole lot better. Wow. I've been having some problems with my neck. It just locks up on me every now and then. I don't know, it gets stiff, everything gets stuffy, and things don't work quite right. And so before I go to, because typically it is neck and back related and stress and, you know, just those kind of things. I've been suffering through it all my life, so it's not like my new job or anything like that has caused me issues or anything. It's just something that's happened over time. My body apparently has decided that the way it deals with stress is to tighten up the muscles in certain areas and just cause me grief. Well, that's okay. So, anyhow, go to my friendly neighborhood chiropractor and get things straightened out, which is a good thing, because just like a razor, if things are not quite in the alignment that they need to be, it may or may not do its job correctly. And well, I don't know about you, but I'm the same way. If things aren't quite in alignment, I have a hard time concentrating. I'm tired. I'm grumpy. You know, more so than normal, which is just dreadful. You know, it's been said a few times that you know, if you have a picture dictionary and look up the term curmudgeon, my picture is right there. And that's okay. I'm fine with that. That's probably what makes me one. But anyhow, it is enjoyable going to the chiropractor and walking out and feeling just so much better than when I walk in, feeling so much looser and you know, having things actually function well. You know, I went yesterday, and yesterday afternoon, and by yesterday evening, my neck, which had been just absolutely tense, the muscles were tight and everything. You know, I reach up and, you know, feel my neck, and everything's just loose and supple and nice, and it's like, okay, now we're getting somewhere. Now we're doing something. So that's a good thing. You know, it's kind of like when you're shaving and you reach up and realize that you have in fact achieved BBS, even if it's just in one area. You're like, yeah, okay, now we're on to something. Yeah, this is the good stuff here. This is the way it's supposed to be. So that's how I spent my morning this morning, and now I'm off to the donut factory to try to make amends for missing a little bit of time early. So hopefully I can be a valuable contributing member to society and, well, to the company that pays me. And, yeah, so again, hopefully you're having just as good a day as I am, because, well, right now I feel so much better. Okay, so another glorious day. Beautiful sunshiny day. Nice morning, nice fresh breeze. Kind of cool in the 70s. Lovely, lovely day. And so was the shave of the day. Absolutely lovely. It really was. It was good stuff. So, as I was saying, I've got the creams kind of laid out on the countertop, and so today I used my Toja cream, and did something a little different. I've got an old brush. I've got an old boar brush. Now, it is a beautiful red handle. It's a kind of a rubbery handle. I don't know if it's rubber, but it may be. But anyhow, it's a beautiful red handle, and it's got an old bore knot on it. Now, this thing is very typical of the bore knots that you would find on a vintage brush in an antique store. It's, well, to be quite honest, it's thin. It's kind of long, but it's thin. It has, there just isn't much there. And so I said, well, let's go ahead and try that. Now, did it do the job? Yes, absolutely. Okay, so I am spoiled rotten by my Samog bore brushes, and in fact, even the Omega that I have, because they're huge in comparison. And the amount of lather that those things will just hold is, well, nigh unto fabulous. It really is. It's just, it's really great. Quite honestly, if you were to just kind of, load up the brush with the lather that you have in the bowl, and then just set the brush down, you would have enough for a 3-pass shave without really much work. So there's a lot of lather there. Now, this little thin one, this vintage brush, yeah, it's got enough for maybe a pass. And if you swirl it, it's a little scrubby. And, well, I guess scrubby's not the word. Scratchy is more the word. It's not as soft as the Samog. And, it just doesn't have the loft. And so when you swirl it, when you rotate it, it really just, well, I don't know, falls short, really. It has a tendency to just kind of, knock the lather down on your face. Now, if you use it and paintbrush it, well, then there's plenty. Then there's lather everywhere, and it's not a big problem, and you can get it on thick, and it's pretty nice. But you kind of have to change your brush technique, if you will, to get a decent amount of lather on your face. So that was curious. That was interesting. It was one of those things where, hey, okay, I really need to send it out or redo it myself. And I've been talking about it a while, but I just got so much going on. It's just, it's just not happening. So, I thought about it. It's taking that old handle and putting like a synthetic in it would be nice. I don't know. I'll have to measure it. I'll have to find out what size it is. But I'm doing other things. It'll be one of these days maybe. But anyhow, I wanted to just use the brush. Now, of course, the Toja cream. It's excellent cream. It does a great job. It doesn't have the cooling effect of the spike. But it's kind of an herbally type cream, kind of like the spike is, and very, very nice. And so I used let's see, which razor did I use? I used my Star razor, and the single edge blade that I had, the stainless gem single edge blade, and got a very, very close shave with that thing. Now, one nice thing about that I really like about the Toja, and in fact a lot of the creams are like this, is that they leave a residual amount of soap even after you shave, so that if you wet your hand and almost like you're going to rinse off, but not use quite as much water, and you can run your hand over your face, and you can find the parts that are just a little bit scritchy, where you've missed, or you need to go at it with a different angle or whatever, and you can really clean things up. And just that little bit of water provides enough slickness, if you will, to do the job just fine, and it'll allow you to get that extra close shave. Now, there are a lot of tallow-based soaps that have kind of that residual slickness as well that you can utilize for that. And so unless it's a big area, sometimes if you're just touching up very small areas, postage stamp size areas, maybe a little bit bigger, but about that size, and you're just wanting a final pass or something, then sometimes you can do it with just a little bit of water and the residual slickness from the soap. And so that's what I did this morning, and ended up walking out of there with an absolute BBS shave. And that blade has, 5 days on it at this point? So, one of the things that I was looking at is on Facebook, Mantic59 is reviewing a razor, and I think it's the One Razor. And this thing is a $250 razor. Well, beautiful razor, stainless steel. It's got kind of a swivel head, but it's meant for a feather single edge blade. Now, the nice thing about it is that the feather blade that it's meant for is actually one that's the same size, if you will, the same physical size as an old time single edged blade, not the little injector size blades, like the Mongoose takes or some of the other razors. So it's a full size blade. Now, of course, first off, those feather blades, I use them in an auto strop, and it does. Oh my gosh, that thing is a shaving marvel. And to me, I think it's the blades. But what they recommend is changing out a blade every shave, and it's like, okay, that is. By the time you do that, you're still not talking, terribly expensive. It's like $5 for a thing of blades, and lasts you a week, and it's like, okay, so maybe. But at the same time, you could go multiple days. At least I would think. I can with my auto strop anyhow, and I can with just a regular single edged blade. So if somebody says, yeah, you get a great shave and you change the blade out once a day, it's like, that's a lot of steel you're throwing in the trash. But it's a beautiful razor, expensive, but a beautiful razor. And like you said to one commenter on Facebook, if you can afford the razor, you can afford to change out the blades once a day. I agree with him. But, yeah. So anyhow, back to the shave of the day. Walked out of there, finished off with some Jalou veiled flowers just because, I wanted to. And, so walking out on a beautiful morning, kind of a little bit of fall in the air, and, sometimes it's hard to tell between fall and spring as far as temperature, and so having the clean, fresh smell of flowers, it's like, it's kind of nice. Very refreshing. Kind of makes, sets a tone for the day. And, I'm looking forward to today, because if it goes anything like the start, it's going to be a good one.
So just a quick update on the immersion heater and other things that I've been playing with the last couple of weeks. So I got out the immersion heater this weekend, and I cleaned it up, and everything was good. Got the rust off of it. It was just a touch more than surface rust in a couple of areas, so it was good to have cleaned it up. So a couple of issues. Number one, apparently the 30-gallon galvanized trash can that I have, it's not completely watertight. It leaks. It's not a fast leak, but it is a slow leak. And so, as you can imagine, that's just, a bit annoying. Oh well. The other issue that it has is that it has sloped sides. Now, because it has sloped sides, the heater does not sit in it, level. And because it doesn't sit in it level, the gas does not drip down on the little cast iron splash plate correctly. And so it loses a little bit there. The other thing, and this was rather interesting, I hadn't expected it, the thing weighs 35 pounds, but it's basically a hollow donut. It wants to float. Now, there is a clamp so that you can clamp it onto the side of the can or barrel or whatever you have, and to keep it in the right level and everything else. However, it's just between the fact that it wants to float and the sides are flared just a little bit, it was rather intriguing. Okay, so that's kind of the update there. And I'm going to be playing around with it and see if I can't figure out. Now, the one thing that it does do, oh my gosh, you want to talk about heating up water quickly? It went from, straight out of the hose, so out of the tap, basically. I'm probably talking 70, 75 degree water, maybe a little bit colder, but, somewhere in that neighborhood. Just a slow, steady drip. And I think it was on for maybe 10 or 15 minutes, and that water was easily up to about 105 degrees. It would be very comfortable bath water. I mean, it was, just on the warm side and very nice. Call it probably 102 to 105 degrees, somewhere in there, and like 10, 15 minutes. Just kind of screwing around with the thing. And and I had the barrel full, so it was probably 25 gallons worth of water in there. So all in all, that part of it, really, really impressive. Now, the other thing is that I had read somewhere that they had issues with potential gasoline or fuel, stuff in the water. It's not coming from the heater, because there's no way for it to get out. The issue, as I see after playing around with it a little bit, is that when you fill up the tank, there is some residual fuel that stays on that front end of the tank, and when you put it in place, it can drip out. If you wipe the thing down, you're not going to get any fuel in your water. Well, now all of a sudden you have a viable source of water for bathing or cleaning dishes or whatever that doesn't have fuel in it. So that's a good thing. So speaking of filling things up, so the last time we talked about it, my gas cans, my NATO cans, I had said that I was really happy with the way they poured, with the exception of the plastic tube that's on the end of the spout. Well, I took it off. It just slides off, but I took it off and just used the spout itself, just the metal spout, and I'm here to tell you, that thing works like a champ. So anyhow, I just wanted to give you a quick update because all is good, and, I was having a good time. I did get, when I was playing with the immersion heater, I did get it to kind of blow back and go boom and sound kind of like a bazooka, and, I was laughing nervously and saying to myself at the time, what could possibly go wrong, boys and girls? It's just, gasoline and flame. No problems, right? So today's shave of the day was brought to you by lime. Yes, today's shave of the day was a lime shave of the day. I soaked up the old boar brush and proceeded to lather up Deluxe Shavings lime. And again, mild lime scent, not terribly powerful. If it was double the scent, I would enjoy it as far as scent goes. Performance was great, but, lime was a little, loose, if you will. But there were mild hints of it in the morning, which was, rather refreshing because, I was a little tired this morning. And so as a pick-me-up, it was, nice. So we started off with the lime shaving cream, and then after the shave, which was done marvelously with a gem stainless single edge blade and my gem Damascene razor, 3 passes, and then a fourth kind of overpass touch up with my little case straight, and so I walked out with a BBS shave, very, very nice and smooth, and looking forward to today, and just because finished it off with some Jaloux Lyman. And the new formulation, they used to have a different formulation. I'll have to get some more to find out if they've changed it back or if it's still the same. But walking out, smelling like a lime. And I enjoy that. And it's a good thing today because, like I said, a little tired. So every now and then getting a whiff of lime is, just nice. So that was the shave of the day today. Hopefully your shave of the days have been going well. And one thing to keep in mind is, change things up a little bit. Change your routine. Change the razors. Do a different razor every day or, once a week or something. Start moving it around a little bit. What you'll find is that you'll learn different things about, well, your technique, your razors, your understanding of both your, razors and yourself and blades and brushes. And it's a journey, and it's a fun journey. And we get to enjoy it, once or twice a day. So that's a cool thing. It really is fun, and I do enjoy it. I look forward to my mornings. I have for a while now. And, if you are still in the ho-hum part, just scraping the whiskers off of your face because, well, that's the societal norm and what you're supposed to do, you might want to try making sure that your blade is sharp and that you have a good fragrant soap that you enjoy, and lather up and enjoy your shave. All right, so another beautiful day, and we're starting it. A little tired this morning. Stayed up last night. Got into a political conversation with someone. Politics is interesting, and I enjoy talking about it. And the main thing that intrigues me is that people take hard and fast stances on, I don't know, things that may or may not really matter or make a difference. It's kind of like saying, well, I'm a double-edged guy, and I refuse. I absolutely refuse. I will never pick up a single-edged razor. Well, why? Well, because it's single-edged. But wait a minute. What if it doesn't? No, it's not a double-edged. It can't do a good job. It can't do a better job. It's got to be a double-edged or it's nothing. But yeah, and those are the conversations, and it's intriguing to me because, okay, first off, I'm not necessarily that opinionated from, a political bent, if you will. What I do know, and this is just my opinion, is that what we have now isn't working for the citizens of the country. That's just kind of the way I feel about it. It just doesn't seem to be working. We're losing jobs. Unemployment is high. If you want to look at unemployment, I look at it this way. If it was up to me, if I had a magic wand and some pixie dust, every teenager out there, every single one, would have the ability to get a job somewhere, doing something that interested them or that they enjoyed, and that would be a maybe not a profitable item for a businessman, but at least a break-even proposition so that they were getting something, okay? That's kind of my problem with the minimum wage. The minimum wage thing has really, in my opinion, disrupted and or killed the market for teenagers getting jobs, which means they come out into the job market and they have absolutely no experience. They don't know how to deal with bosses or people telling them what to do or performance or anything. They have no experience. And that's a shame, and it's really a detriment as a whole to the country. So, right now, the way it's working, unemployment is so high that there is virtually no way a teenager can get a job. And that's kind of what I use as my gauge. I understand there's systems, like, you get fired or whatever, and you've got unemployment benefits, and they go on now for just about forever. But so the political discussions, are interesting because, again, it's obvious that things are not well. Things are not going as well as they could be going, and the problem is that there seems to be an absolute, well, almost a non-desire to fix things. There's a lot of desire to talk about things. There's a lot of desire to get someone's attention by saying this is bad or that is bad or it should be this way or it should be that way. But with all the talk, there doesn't seem to be a lot of, change, at least not positive change. Whatever side of the fence you're on, there's a frustration that it's all just the same. You might have that big change, but then, for all the uproar of, we got to get rid of this, or we got to keep it, or we got to make it better, it doesn't seem to change. There's not the exchanges aren't getting any stronger. They're not rolling any sizable numbers of people. The other side wants to get rid of it and can't, and it's like there's no change that's occurring. It's almost like, okay, we moved this thing, and now we're just sitting back, letting people get used to it, and then we can go back and point at it and say, well, that's the status quo. It's really an intriguing proposition. But it's those kind of political discussions that intrigue me. Quite honestly, this is just me, quite honestly, I don't really like either the Democrat Party or the Republican Party as far as the options and choices that they give. There are some things that I like on one side and some things that I like on the other side. The problem is that nobody combines the two, or if they combine them, they throw them together with stuff that I absolutely do not like. But at the end of the day, the thing that is most intriguing is just watching the process and the people having and sharing opinions. And it's when someone makes a statement that, well, I'm not going to, or I will not, or, just blanket statements fairly early in the game, that are intriguing to me, because I have a tendency, just because it's me, to challenge that, to politely ask, well, okay, for example, there are people that absolutely do not like Donald Trump, but they enjoy the fact that he's stirring things up. Okay, but why do you like Donald Trump? Well, he's an outsider, all right? He was, he runs businesses, he's not a politician, he says what he means, and so on and so forth. Okay, first off, any businessman at that level is a politician to some degree. Have to be. Just absolutely have to be. Now, at the same time, this person will say, for example, and I'm just throwing these examples out there, that they really like Ben Carson or Carly Fiorina or, someone like that. Well, okay, they're also, not necessarily politicians, but at the same time, within their respected endeavors, okay, depending on how you measure it, Dr. Carson may be at the same level, but Carly Fiorina is not as successful as a business person as Donald Trump is. And you have to ask yourself why. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy both of them, and both of them are kind of outside the political norm. Okay, I'm good with that, but why is one favorable and the other one so, detestable? And to me, what I decided last night is it comes down to not necessarily what they say, but more how they say it. If someone says something in a very measured and, non-passionate, or at least slightly passionate way, they're potentially acceptable. Whereas if someone like Donald Trump throws out very emphatic, exceedingly passionate statements, well, that's not acceptable. And it kind of goes back to some of my observation about passion, in that sometimes when someone is passionate, people view it as, anger. And there's a disconnect in understanding as to, is it Is it really anger, or is it just passion? And it's, to a certain extent, it's really harmed the discourse in the country. But it's curious to me that they'll look at someone like Donald Trump and say no. They'll look at someone like Carly Fiorina and say yes. And they'll look at someone like, oh, I don't know. I'm just picking on the Republican Party right now, or the Republican primary. They'll look at someone like Cruz and say, yeah, I like him. The problem is that because of, and this is just a fact, the Donald is essentially gaining all of the attention, and that may have been the ploy. Because remember, a campaign is all about getting attention. That's why they do what they do. So if the ploy at this point is to gain name recognition and to essentially make yourself the topic of conversation for, well, everything, Mr. Trump is doing an absolutely fabulous job. And the problem is that for people who enjoy the other candidates or prefer the other candidates aren't really getting any mention because Mr. Donald has sucked all of the oxygen out of the room. Which is, again, if it's a campaign, it's, since it is a campaign, it's potentially brilliant. So it's really a curiosity because there are, well, in part of the conversation, there was the statement that, Donald Trump has flip-flopped on things. At which point I challenged the individual, find me a politician who has not flip-flopped on things. There are whole industries surrounding politicians' flip-flops, when the opposition party is attempting to dig up dirt on a politician, and they all do, the first thing that they do is go after the flip-flops because they are rampant and easy. The other thing is that, well, he can't act presidential. Well, I'm sorry, maybe that's what we need. Because right now, for the last couple of decades, the acting of presidential has been more acting like, well, I'm on top, you're not, I get to do whatever I want, and, well, everybody else can just, go away. Maybe it's the paradigm of presidential that we need to look at. It's a curiosity. Now, I don't know if I'd vote for him, but it's more a study on people's reactions and why they react to it. It's kind of like the reaction of, you hand a guy a double-edged razor, a cartridge razor, and a straight razor. The double edge, the cartridge razor might be the occupant in the office currently, can get the job done, sort of, has been there for a while. Everybody knows that it works, and everybody kind of has the notion, well, that's the way it's supposed to be. You have the double-edged razor, which may be something like a Ted Cruz or, Rand Paul or something like that. That is, maybe a little bit different, has a little bit of flair, maybe a touch of old school, and then you got the straight razor, which is probably Donald Trump. And everybody looks at it, and they're used to cartridges. They're willing to take a chance on the double-edged. They don't want to have anything to do with the straight razor because they don't know anything about it. At least that's how I'm kind of chalking it up. So, because I enjoy talking about this stuff, and then because I enjoy, dealing with not necessarily what the candidates stand for so much, because in some cases I could kind of care less. But the thing that intrigues me, the thing that absolutely intrigues me more than anything else, is people's, well, almost visceral reactions to what the candidates do and what they say and how they work it, how they maneuver it. You'll see, for example, that the tried and true politicians get on talk shows and are pressed for a yes/no question, and they will invariably never utter the words yes or no. They will talk for 10 minutes and never answer a yes or a no question with a yes or a no. And apparently people think, ooh, that's political. That's good stuff. That's presidential. So maybe it's, I'm sort of kind of gonna maybe shave here and cut and, maybe, I don't know. And then you got the ones that are a little bit more finer of a point and, maybe only talk for 2 minutes and still not really utter a yes or no, but maybe leave you with the thought of maybe. And then there are the ones that are definitely not the politicians, who are very much the straight razor personalities, who you ask them a yes or no question and they look at you straight in the eye and say yes or no. And typically the person that's asking the question is then wondering, okay, how do I fill the next 3 minutes because I'm used to somebody talking? Yeah, and that is a bit of a change, isn't it? And it's kind of different, and people don't know quite how to handle that blunt and brutal honesty that a straight razor can bring to the game. It can nick you. Yeah, you can make mistakes with it. Yeah, I mean, you gotta treat it in a certain way and handle it a certain way. But at the same time, it does do an efficient job.
Well, that concludes this episode of the Brush and Soap and Blade Podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as I enjoyed making it. If you have some suggestions or would like a topic covered, drop me an email at brushandsoapandblade@gmail.com or give me a call at 864-372-6234 or contact us on Twitter at BrushnBlade. You can also visit us at our blog, brushandsoapandblade.wordpress.com. As always, we're available on iTunes and Stitcher.